yesterday's news.
Hello, welcome to Old News, the programme where we glance at news of today through the eyes of yesterday. And the subject which caught my attention this week, beach huts. I know, but they've been back in vogue of late. Who'd have thought? The original bathing machine coming back into vogue, slightly tweaked, but in essence pretty much the same. A little simple dwelling you can have down by the seashore where you can spend the day happily and use it as your base. Not perhaps the ones that were wheeled out into the sea so ladies could modestly get into the water without displaying more than a hint of ankle. But now for people to spend the day with their kids and make tea and have picnics and such like. And you see them round the island, very popular down at Port Erin. And I was seeing in recent weeks there's been news stories on Manx Radio about the construction of 3 beach huts on Queen's Prom, with another 3 scheduled to be added next year. Not always so popular, it seems. There seemed a little spate of them in the 1960s and not necessarily all getting great favour. In July of 1960, in the Isle of Man Examiner, it was suggested that bathing rafts and beach huts for Port St Mary weren't exactly the thing. The provision of a raft merits consideration, the village commissioners feel, but none of them appear to care for the idea of having beach huts on their shore. This followed a reading of a letter from the Tourist Board drawing attention to the desirability of placing bathing rafts on Manx beaches and also the convenience which beach huts would afford. The beach huts, it's explained in the letter, are in no circumstances used as an alternative to hotel accommodation. However, Mrs. Allway, chairman of the commissioners, said beach huts would make it a bed and breakfast place. I don't think they're suitable in a place like Port St Mary. And from Mr. H.A. Thomas, if we have bathing tents along our front, it will ruin it. Meanwhile, in the same summer, May, I think it was, around about 1960, over in Peel, on the recommendation of the Entertainments Committee, the Peel Commissioners agreed to ask the Tourist Board for further information regarding beach huts, and Fenella Beach area suggested as a site that might lend itself for this very purpose. Also agreed to inform the Tourist Board the Commissioners already hired out tents on the Peel shore. In the same year, a little bit later on, over in Port Erin, the commissioners there were opposed to the suggestion by the Tourist Board that beach huts could be erected on or in the vicinity of the shore. The Tourist Board sent to the commissioners a plan of huts at Bournemouth, the cost of each being the princely sum of £100. The matter considered by the Finance and Shores Committee, who proposed reply to the Tourist Board, was agreed by the commissioners. The reply stated that the board had a number of canvas beach tents which were hired out, and in the opinion of the board, canvas beach tents were more suitable in this locality. Furthermore, Port Erin foreshore being sea-swept, timber beach huts could not be erected on any part of it, and the board had no land in the vicinity of the shore on which it considers buildings of this nature could, or indeed should, be erected. They also added the question as to the desirability of continuing to permit wooden huts and buildings to remain on land adjoining Shore Road, Port Erin, is one which has been raised on more than one occasion by the Planning Committee. However, there's an argument to be made for going back to the beach hut. If we go right back to September the 2nd, 1884, in the Manx Sun, a letter. Dear Sir, will you allow me space for a suggestion prompted by some visitors to our town, writes A. Primrose Wells, M.A., surgeon to the household. I was called around 10 days ago to the beach to a gentleman who had just been dragged from the water. The history was given thus. He'd been bathing and was swimming in water around 4 feet deep when seized with cramp in both legs. After struggling till he became exhausted, he at last sank and became unconscious, but was rescued by a boatman from land who chanced to catch sight of his body. The poor man had practically gone through the terrors of death by drowning. What I would suggest is that during the few hours in the day when bathing is going on, there should be a man in a boat plying up and down with a lifebuoy in front of the machines. That's the bathing machines, beach huts on wheels to you and me, and able at once to come to the rescue in such times of need. Moreover, let him be the possessor of a little hut on the beach, where he may keep a blanket or two, restoratives, and like preserving and life-preserving, it says like, but I'm sure they mean life-preserving, apparati. It was not until the unfortunate sufferer had lain exposed for some time on the beach that blankets could be got from some kind people in neighbouring homes. And I'm told by those homes that overlook the bathing ground there are as many as 120 persons in the water, sometimes at once. It is well, goes on Mr. Primrose Wells, M.A., that this important pastime should be freed from all risk, so as to enable visitors freely to avail themselves of this beautiful bathing place. I've noticed several accidents reported in the papers lately, and heard of those who are shy of going into the water on this account. The gentleman who himself was nearly drowned, as well as another man who witnessed the scene, have each promised 2 guineas if a subscription should be raised to procure the improvements I have spoken of. And I shall myself be glad to contribute. But may we not hope that the town will add to this its list of improvements for next season? So writes Mr. A. Primrose Wells in 1884. A hut for a bathing or a lifeguard or a bathing protector. Could it come back? Who knows? Lifeguards on the beach, beach huts back on the beach. Perhaps we'll see the return of the bathing machine, the beach hut you can wheel into the sea. Nothing is impossible, and it's all old news. See you next week. Cheerio.